Good evening and welcome to the regular scheduled meeting of the Mayor and Council. Today is Monday, August 19th, 2019, and we will start today's meeting by the reading of the Open Public Meetings Act. I hereby announce and request that such be included in the minutes of this meeting, that notice of the time, date, and place of this meeting has been prominently posted on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, mailed to the Times, the Star Ledger, the Courier News, and the Alternative Press by January 10th, 2019, filed with the Borough Clerk, and mailed to any person requesting the same in accordance of the Open Public Meetings Act. I would ask that everyone that is here in the audience please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And that I would ask that you stand for a moment of silence, and that I would ask, as we have our own moments, that you keep in mind all of the victims of the recent shootings that the United States of America has experienced, for those families who have lost loved ones, for those who have survived the shootings and will be forever scarred. Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Jeffrey Banks.
Here.
Anthony Carter. Grant.
Here.
Erin McElroy-Walker.
Here.
Catherine Mitchell. Here. Patricia Walsh.
Here.
Colleen Moore.
Here. All right, we'll start off with the review and approval of minutes of meetings that the Borough Council has had. I will ask that we take a motion to move the minutes of the regular meeting of the Mayor and Council last month of July 15th, 2019, that we will move the minutes of our agenda meeting of this month on August 5th, and that we had a special meeting of the Mayor and Council on August 5th and August 8th, 2019.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'm now going to go over to the podium.
I'm going to go with you and move that screen if that's okay with you.
Oh, sure.
It screws up all the pictures.
And then we can move it back.
You need it for, oh, somebody's doing the
Yeah,
presentation.
Kristen's doing the presentation.
Yes.
If you just want to move it down,
I'll
then
move
you
it and then
can,
move it back there.
then we can always, So, good evening and happy summer to everybody, and it's nice to see some people here in the audience, and to those at home watching us. Thank you for tuning in and following what goes on here in our great community. Before we get to the regular scheduled business, we take the beginning of each meeting each month to do announcements and appointments. And this month, we have two appointments, or two announcements that we're going to make. You know, as we come off of Memorial Day, and we pay tribute to those who serve their country, several years ago, we started a program that acknowledged and shone a little light on members of families here in Fanwood that was in the armed services. And we started with giving out service flags. And tonight, I'm really humbled and pleased that we're going to be giving out a service flag honoree for Army Specialist Christopher Wilkinson Magnin, and his family is here, and I'm going to call them up. But before I do, it's been a couple years since we've actually given out the flag, so I'm really excited that you're here this evening, because it was something that we did, and I would actually go around to the houses of the family members of the people who were serving overseas, and we would put up the flag at the house. And so I was really glad that when we got the request. So I think we have his parents that are here, Kathleen and Robert.
Robert is not here. I'm not sure where he is.
Okay, Kathleen's here.
But Hadley's here and his brother William is here.
Oh, well, so why don't you come on up? Come on up. So as they're working their way up, the service flag
Picture of Christopher.
Oh, good. Good. So he's with us.
He's with us.
There we go. And can we do that? Hold on a second. Can we do it like this? Can you hold it? There you go. There you go. So he's with us. And then we'll give you that. So the service flag honoree, as again, is Christopher Wilkinson Magnin, and he is 28 years old,
Yes. Almost 29.
almost 29. Grew up on Coryell Avenue. Is currently in the U.S. Army.
Correct.
And he went to McGinn, Terrell, Scotch Plains Fanwood High School, and graduated from Rutgers, New Brunswick. And the service flag is the official banner authorized by the Department of Defense for display by families who have members serving in the armed forces. And the history of this service flag is very patriotic, as it was designed and patented by World War I Army Captain Robert Questner of the 5th Ohio Infantry, who had 2 sons serving on the front line. And the flag quickly became the unofficial symbol of a child who was in service. President Wilson became part of this history when in 1918 he approved a suggestion made by the Women's Committee of the Council of National Defense that mothers who had lost a child serving in the war to wear a gold gilt star on the traditional black mourning armbar. This led to the tradition to cover the blue star with a gold star on the service flag. The color of the stars is also symbolic in that the blue star represents hope and pride, and the gold star represents sacrifice in the cause of liberty and freedom. So the service flag is an indoor flag and should be flown facing out from the front window of the home. So it really is our honor, on behalf of the council and for all of us here in Fanwood, to really just tip our hat to Christopher and to his family, and to honor him for his service. And hopefully this is going out and you're taking video here. We can always give you a nice video too of tonight to give.
I promised him I would post it.
Well, we could definitely do that. We could definitely do that. And thank you. So please say a few words about Christopher and your family and family. Go ahead.
Well, we've lived on Coryell since '86, so both the boys born and raised in, McGinn, Terrell, and in the high school. It's a wonderful town. We've taken part in so many things: movies in the park, Santa on the fire truck, all sorts of things. I remember when Christopher was little, Santa used to come to the door to deliver presents. I realize Santa is a little busy these days and cannot do that.
He comes close.
He comes close.
Comes to the
but
driveway.
he does not actually come up to the door anymore. But, so we would have a big neighborhood party for Santa. And so it's, it's a wonderful town. And we are thrilled to be here, and I'm so proud of him because he struggled for a little while finding his place.
way.
And he has taken to this like a house of fire.
Well, and he's taken it to serve his country and really
Yes.
for each and every one of us. So really on behalf of all of his family and friends and his residents here in Fanwood, and we'll give a big shout out to you. And thank you, thank you, Christopher, for keeping us safe. And please, think of us when you display that.
I certainly will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And hold that.
Okay.
Now we're cooking. All right. Everybody good?
Yeah. Just hold it. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we have one for Robert. Do you want us to keep it, or do you want to give it to him?
I'll take it. I'm not sure where he is.
Okay.
I think he thought it started at 7:30.
Oh, so, and for those of you that are watching this, if you know someone or a family that has a loved one that is currently serving, please reach out to us because it would be really great for us to get back into the habit of giving out the service flags. And as you're actually driving around town, you'd be surprised how many you see now that you know actually what it looks like. Our next order of business is our volunteer of the month, and every month we take this opportunity to draw a little public attention and to say thank you to a member of our community who we think exemplifies the best of what Fanwood is all about. And it is actually, giving of themselves and giving back to the community that they choose to plant their roots on. And this month, I am very pleased to welcome to the podium, give him a nice round of applause, Adam Matty, who serves on our planning board. Hi. I'm good to see you. So, Adam and I have the pleasure of serving on the planning board. Adam is an architect by trade, and when I tell you that I believe that the Borough of Fanwood has probably one of the best, most sophisticated and professional planning boards anywhere in the state of New Jersey because of the caliber of our residents that choose to step forward and sit and really help guide our land use. And I always say that the planning board is probably one of the most important committees that you can volunteer on because it really is where the future land use and the decisions that are made at the planning board really guide the fabric, the look of our town for just not today but for generations to come. And Adam has sat on the planning board for the last several years and has been a real positive influence because of his professional background and plus his love of his family. And so he lives in Fanwood with his lovely wife Barb, and he has 2 children that go through the school district, and he gets involved just not here within serving on the planning board but also in the community events. So we wanted to just personally just say thank you. We have a little something for you. Here's Mike. So this is our historic train station, and we give this out to our volunteers because we believe this is what represents the best of Fanwood, and it is what people think of when they think of Fanwood. And we want to give this to you to say thank you, and that when you hang it, you know that the community that you serve recognizes your contributions and really sincerely thanks you. Because we know that you could be doing anything, but you choose to give back to here, and it really makes a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I just wanted to say thank you to the mayor, thank you to the council, I guess. Yeah, we live in Fanwood for the last few years, I guess 5 years or so, and I'm just grateful that the town is great and that I can be of assistance and donate my time and whatnot to watch this town grow and see my kids grow and my family. So, thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thank you. Thank you. So, did I see that? So, come forward here. Give me that flag back. let me give that back. Yeah, I'm good. Yes, we'll do like a little do-over because Christopher's father's here.
Christopher's father is over 7:30.
Well, then you're early. Exactly. So, hi, Robert.
Hi.
Bob. So, Bob, this is for you. And as we said, we were very proud to give this to yourself and to Christopher's mother to acknowledge the sacrifices that your family is making on behalf of the United States of America, and the sacrifices that Christopher is also making personally, to protect our country, and really that we acknowledge that. And we thank him for that, and that we hope that you hang this service flag. And it really is a symbol of families that are choosing to support their loved ones as they are very far away and doing at times very dangerous work. we really want to thank you because we know we don't assume that this is easy, and we don't seem to, not walk into your shoes. But serving the United States of America, especially this time, at this point in our country, is something that we all should acknowledge and thank. And so publicly, we're here tonight, and we're very glad to be able to give you this Blue Star, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
So now I'm going to call up Kristen. So Fanwood is very lucky this summer that we had an awesome intern that I sort of stumbled upon when I was campaigning this past spring, going door to door. Kristen lives in Fanwood. Kirsten, what did I say? Sorry, all summer I've been calling her the wrong name. Terrible. Terrible. Should we push it back a little?
It was we tested this out earlier and this was the best place to put it.
Okay, so real quick before she begins, we talk a lot about being a sustainable community. We talk a lot about the importance of recycling. We talk a lot about the importance of being green, and really educating our community on what that actually means. And the state of New Jersey has a program called Sustainable Jersey, of which Fanwood had gotten accreditation several years ago, but because our green team, which is what we're going to be talking about here tonight, and this presentation, I hope, does two things. I hope that it educates this council, that it sits here, because we have several really new faces and new members of the council that was not here when we had a green team and we first got our certification, and that has since lapsed. And that certification has lapsed because we really need to refocus on what we think is important when it comes to being a sustainable community, what it means to be sustainable, and we also need a call for volunteers. And so the summer was spent really understanding how far we sort of have fallen away from our certification and what it's going to take for us to get it back, and what you as a governing body can do to support those efforts, with our goal ultimately to get our green team. So anybody that's out there listening and who likes the environment and loves Mother Earth and has some time on their hands, we definitely could use a small, passionate group to help us carry out some of these actions. And what we're going to hear about is there are actions that we can do, but those actions require some dedication from both the governing body as well as the public at large. So I will turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Is this on? Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Kirsten Swack. I was the intern here at the Borough Hall for the summer. I was born and raised in Fanwood, and then after 18 years I scooted off to Scotland, where I'm a rising senior at the University of St. Andrews, studying international environmental governance and security. And so I'm just going to walk you through, like Mayor Mars said, the best path for us to regain our certification with Sustainable Jersey. And since I know a lot of you guys don't necessarily know what this is, I'm going to start off with that. So an overview of Sustainable Jersey and our involvement. So basically, the sustainable, and I'm sorry, this is a little bit blurry and kind of small, but that's why you guys have your handouts. Awesome. So basically, the purpose of Sustainable Jersey is that it's focused on protecting the environment by encouraging and giving municipalities the tools in which to bolster their sustainable practices so that we can build a stronger and more sustainable Jersey from the ground up. So in that direction, it provides, through its website, provides a wealth of information to help people figure out the best next steps that they can take if they're looking to become more sustainable. They also provide grant opportunities. So the advantages specifically to following this program and becoming more sustainable is you save money, especially when you think about energy efficiency, or you can help promote your town, because if you're doing very well, they highlight the towns that are doing the best in terms of sustainable practices, and then also obviously protecting the environment. So basically, how the program works is that they have a bronze, a silver, and a gold certification level. And how you qualify for these certifications is that they have a whole host of actions, or basically what they call actions are these sustainable practices. So for example, having a tree protection ordinance is referred to as an action. So for these actions, you get points, and then you have and they deem certain actions as priority depending on how important they see them, and so you need to do a certain number of those in order to qualify for certain levels. And you need to, basically each June, different town, you can apply for your certification, and then the certification lasts for 3 years, after which time you need to recertify. So we're going to talk about why we kind of fell out of that. And then, so that's basically that. So our history with Sustainable Jersey is that we were certified for bronze in both 2012 and 2015. Unfortunately, our certification expired in 2018, and we missed the June recertification period in 2019, which is obviously past at this point. So the new objective is to get recertified for the June 2020 period. So basically, where do we stand now? So what you need to certify for bronze is that you need to have a mandatory green team established, which is a group of volunteers from the community or the different commissions who are willing to help basically put this into practice. You need to have 2 of 12 priority actions, and you need to have 6 of 18 categories, and you need a total of 150 points. So basically what our current status was when I started looking at this in the beginning of the summer was admittedly a bit bleak, but it's actually quite quite easy to re-achieve again, as I'll talk about in a second. So like Mayor Marr said, we don't have a green team. It's pretty much dissolved at this point, despite the fact that we had a resolution passed back in 2018, just nothing really materialized because of that. So, and then 16 of our 17 actions have already expired, or they will by the end of the year. Therefore, we start off with 0 of our 2 priorities, 1 of 6 categories, and 10 of 150 points.
Bleak.
Bleak, yeah, not the best, but basically 10 of these 16 actions that have expired are very easily reattained with just new documentation or updated documentation and updated narratives. So basically, and I'm not going to go through all of these, but basically these were just the 17 actions that we got certified with back in 2012 and 2015. You can see we mainly focused on waste management and natural resources. And then, so it's not on your paper, but you can kind of see the ones that are in red are the ones that have retired or aren't usable. The ones in green are the ones that we can re-achieve for 2020.
Like just real quick to go back,
Yeah.
we had gotten points because we had the goats.
Yeah.
When we first did that, but that's why it's in red now, because
It's just
it's
not
it's a retired action.
Well, it's not
But-
retired. It's just that it's too, like, the innovative actions have a certain time period you can have them for, because
Right,
they're
so
supposed
we
to be
need something
innovative. Yeah,
either
exactly.
new, right, but there's other
Precisely.
things here that I think with not a lot of effort can
No,
get
exactly.
activated for
Yeah,
2020.
no, exactly. Some of these things you just need to update the documentation for and rewrite a new narrative. So 10 of the actions that have expired, you are very easily re-achieved like that. So basically, these are the 16 actions that I've kind of planned out that will get us back to our bronze standing. You can see the ones in green are the ones that are new, and the rest of them are, like I talked about before, will be easily reinvigorated for the program.
And one of them, if you just look real quick on the energy, is making your town electric vehicle friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that
Just got a grant to put in.
we have a grant,
yeah.
we've located it, but we have some corresponding paperwork and I think updated ordinances.
Right? Yeah.
And that's where our borough attorney's going to need to come in, because some of these actions we have to really memorialize.
Yeah. All right, so basically the next few slides, I'm just going to go over the path to get us recertified from August to June, kind of split into 2 sections, basically just the steps we need to take, and then the documentation and updates and narratives that we need to make. So basically August to December, or loosely, because obviously this can still go until June, there's about 6 actions that still require really concrete measures in order for us to get points for them. So just starting off, as we talked about already with the green team, we need to get volunteers, so that's actually formed, then we need to create a resolution for that. there's another action called Anti-Idling Education Enforcement Program. Basically, what needs to occur with that is that we need to, well, basically back in 2012, we created a resolution for anti-idling. We had created a map that pointed out the specific areas where we didn't want idling to occur, and then we had some signage put up. None of that stuff really, the resolution hasn't been rescinded or anything like that, so it still exists. So that's great, so we can still use that, but then what we need now is an updated map, and we need updated signage, because I don't think the signage exists anymore as far as I'm aware or could tell.
It doesn't.
Yeah. So that, and then we need to just redistribute certain flyers and educational material as to why anti-idling is
Which
bad.
actually is very interesting, because I think a bunch of us got an email, I think
Yes, we did.
from the Historic Preservation, who meets at the train station, and complained that all of the people who are waiting to pick up their loved ones from the train station, what are they doing? They're idling their
yeah.
cars.
That was where we used to have so when we first had the map, it was at the train station, and then the areas around businesses, and then the areas close to where the schools are, because obviously we don't have any schools in our municipality specifically, but that was where we had pointed out before. So it would just be kind of to reaffirm that, and then re-add signage, and then distribute educational materials, and we would get points back for that action. Another action, a new one, is tracking our municipal carbon footprint, and all that would require, which is also really important, as we all know with what's going on with climate change in the world right now, that would be a great effort towards figuring out how our municipality specifically is contributing to CO2 emissions. And all that requires is that Sustainable Jersey has created this fantastic Excel spreadsheet calculator where all you really need to plug in is your certain energy usages in the municipal buildings, and then the fuel usage for our municipal cars, and then it kind of tells you what your carbon footprint is. And that's all you have to complete for that action, is just fill out the calculator. So then, and then going off of that, there's another one, energy efficiency municipal facilities, which is that we just need to get an audit of all the municipal buildings. And the good thing with that is that audit would help us fill out the calculator for the carbon footprint.
And again, some of this stuff between Eleanor, Antonius, and Russ, this is gonna require, like going back to some of the stuff that we do, like the energy, that's probably the BPU.
Yep.
Right, but
We have an energy audit.
we had an energy audit back in 2000.
Was it that long
It was
ago?
back in 2010 was the last one that Eleanor and I
okay.
could figure out, because then we got the buildings, the
2010.
2010, yeah.
We just had one.
We just had one.
But I
I thought I'd asked what our most recent energy audit was, and you said you didn't have any information on
No, the
it.
2010 one.
Right. No, okay, I guess in the original email it's
So
all right.
what's the one
So
that
what's
we
the
have
audit?
now?
2019.
Oh,
Okay.
1819.
Was
Okay.
it for all the municipal buildings?
Yes.
Okay, well then, you've already done that action, so.
All right, so Antonius, I need you to help get that, okay? Please.
Anyway, so next one is, well, I guess these kind of go hand in hand, but we've already, gotten the grant for the public electric, or the plug-in electric vehicle charging stations. So once those are installed, we just need a letter from a municipal authority, so Mayor Mar, that just describes the specifics, like where it is, what kind of station it is, who can use it and such. And then on top of that, Sustainable Jersey really presses that you should be following their action called Make Your Town Electric Vehicle Friendly, which is the most, probably the one that's requiring the most effort. As you can see, there's about 4 things you need to do. But basically, we need to amend the zoning ordinance to include this infrastructure for plug-in electric vehicles. We need to create a public electric vehicle charging station parking ordinance. You need to provide training for local first responders, and then one additional task, like an awareness event just for electric vehicles. And then so basically those are the 12 steps that we need to complete in order for us to have all of our
So,
strings tied.
so Russ,
Mhm.
so what I'd like is that these things that require council to take action on, we do that hopefully sooner rather than later, so that before December. One is the zoning ordinance. The other one, I think we do have to go back to the anti-idling, and we have to look at what we have on the books from when we did it, and see what we really, take a look at it, make sure the zones are exactly what we want again.
We don't have an anti-idling.
Yes, we do.
We do.
We do.
We do?
2012.
We did
We
it
have
when
we have a resolution.
Oh, we have a
Yeah, we
resolution.
don't have an ordinance, but a resolution.
Resolution's different than
Yeah, totally. So between that, so,
But but
yeah,
there's a state law,
right.
right?
Right.
Right, so I think that what the takeaway is, as she continues on here, is that for our professionals, you get a sense of what we need to do, and some of this falls within your wheelhouse, and that we can start to see on our agendas some of these things that will help us capture these points before the end of the year.
And also just to clear up the anti-idling thing, like there is a state law for anti-idling and it just says 3 minutes for everyone, and then Sustainable Jersey has really conceptualized that that's just way too long. So the resolution was about saying that we would rather it be 30 seconds and then you're supposed to turn your car off. So that's, but like, you know, we don't have an ordinance for it or anything. It's just a resolution at this point.
Okay.
Need an ordinance?
Yeah.
You don't need an
So like
ordinance.
we're
but,
gonna
yeah.
ticket someone for idling? Is that what we're
You
saying?
could, theoretically, Fanwood could pass an ordinance and police department could enforce it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, just like a parking or any other ordinance.
Maybe we should leave it at that.
Well, I don't think we're talking about going ahead and being that outwardly negative and hammering people. I think it's educating, you know, because it's anti-idling education,
Right.
you know, and updating our map, publicly saying that this is important to us, if this is what the council feels is important from an environmental point of view, and talking about why, when people are picking people up, they need to just shut the cars off. I don't think we're looking at enforcement being a ticket.
To a certain extent, though, we did try that back in 2012, and it seems like it kind of just disappeared. So there is, you know, you could consider that an ordinance might be more effective if it didn't seem
But
like...
I also don't think we actually, what we didn't do was we didn't really sit with the police and try to do more of an
Right.
education campaign, you know what I mean? And PTAs. Yeah, and the PTAs and really, you know, you do this piece as a more of a comprehensive education.
Yeah.
And you said the signs disappeared, so they must not have been permanent signs that we.
Where were they? I don't remember seeing
I don't
signs.
know
They were
if
by
we
the
could
train.
really put it.
Maybe
They were by the
correct it.
trains. They definitely got put up because we have pictures of it on our applications from when we applied, but I'm not sure why they aren't up
So
anymore.
maybe we could find a way to make them sustainable.
There you go, that may give us some points.
There you go.
And then Eleanor, you can grab the stuff for the energy audit
Yeah.
that we're doing, okay?
Great, okay. So, and then moving on, basically January to June is just about the things that the green team needs to compile. Basically, all of the actions require a narrative. 11 of them we already have, so they just need to be updated, and then there's 5 of them that are new, so those will just need to be plugged in. They're only about a paragraph each, so that will just require a little bit of busy work for the green team. But otherwise, we just need to collect documentation from 2019, because basically anything that could have happened before 2019, I've already plugged into the system, but there's certain recycling tonnage reports that had to have occurred during this year, or annual reports from the Environmental Commission for 2019 that obviously we don't have yet, so that's just documentation that the green team will need to collect come next year.
So I also think that we need to make sure that the Environmental Commission and any other of our commissions actually do their annual reports, which I'm not sure if we actually get every year.
I feel like the last one was like 2017 or 16 from what I saw, so yeah. All right. Well, anyway, so after that is all completed, the outcome is that we should have the mandatory green team, 3 priority actions, only 2 are required, 6 categories and 175 points. So there's a tiny bit of leeway with the 3 priority actions and the 175 points, which is probably for the best, considering that, you know, if anything kind of falls through, unfortunately, it's better to have a little bit of a buffer. And then in general, just to fulfill the 6 categories, there's certain things we needed to go a little bit over in. So post-June 2020, we can hope to be certified by October 2020. That's when they first start letting out their certifications, because the period up until then is them reviewing the documentation, sending you back feedback, letting you know if you need to change anything or send anything new in. And so then the next time we would need to recertify would be redoing this process in order for us to send in our application again in June 2023 to avoid another lapse in the certification with Sustainable Jersey. So basically on top of that, outside of just, you know, striving for bronze, there's other things that would be positive for us to dip our feet into, especially when you look at how we're doing the energy efficiency municipal buildings. So we've already gotten the audit done. And what would be great is that if we do another update of our another energy upgrade, because then just in general that would be great for us to do because it's been quite a while, but then just as well we can earn up to another 40 points for that sustainable action. So that would be helpful, especially if in the future we want to strive for silver, for which you need 350 points. So it's a little bit of a leap, but hopefully we can get there. The next thing would be honing in on waste reduction, which I talked to Mayor Marr a lot about. There's another action called Recycling and Waste Reduction Education and Compliance, which is 20 sustainable Jersey points. It says 10 on your thing. I just changed it because I was wrong. But it's also another priority action. And it's basically focused on improving the way in which we recycle so that there's less contamination, but then on top of that, encouraging people to just have less waste in general, so less single-use plastics and such.
Which fits really nice into a lot of the, like, a lot of the conversations that we've been talking about, but this may just be the push to do something a little more organized, coming out of the town.
And just as well on top of that, a few days ago I was talking with Pat Hoynes and Margaret Heisey about this program called Trex, where you basically collect this thin film plastic, which is stuff such as plastic shopping bags or the stuff that comes over water bottle, that kind of stuff, that your bread comes in, like those thin plastics that you really weren't recycling otherwise. So you ask for these containers, you get it from this Trex program, and once you get 500 pounds of this thin film plastic, you can send it off to them, and they'll send you back a free bench. And it's kind of like this way of recycling, and also a better way of recycling this thin film plastic which at this moment isn't recycled really well, because a lot of people will throw it into the recycling bin, and it just clogs up the whole mechanism. So it's a better way of decontaminating our recycling stream, and just as well getting something back for recycling. I think it's great,
because I think that's
So in places like Stop and Shop, when you bring the plastic that you're talking about,
right? Yeah.
Because I collect that separately, and then I bring it up there and put it in their big thing.
Yeah.
That goes to something like this Trex program, or somewhere that recycles it.
It goes somewhere that recycles it. I guess this is just more of a give and take sort of thing, that you would get something back for what you're given, and it's supposed to be more of a
like Garwood
situation.
is in the midst of doing this Trex program.
And so has
right now.
Berkeley Heights was the place that we have been talking to on the phone asking about this, and that in the past year they've recycled 7,000 pounds. Since they've gone all these different
benches that are
benches
in
back.
the pocket are Trex.
Those were recyclable benches.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the first things when they were doing the downtown with Jack Molinar. They actually did those benches. But Trex is actually the product that, if you go down to the boardwalks now,
I know.
instead of the wood, it's Trex.
Yes.
So this is the
Exactly.
composite. I think this is great.
So then I'm just on top of that program. What's really important, because when we were talking to Berkeley Heights about this as well, is that focus, like what we were just talking about, on also reducing waste. Because a lot of people will think, I'm recycling it. That's good enough. I don't necessarily need to cut down on that. But then what we should do with this, just so people don't think that they can just keep using more and more plastic bags, because obviously not everything is getting recycled, and it's expensive for the taxpayers at this point. Not maybe the Trex program, but what we have going on right now in general. And so it's also it's in our interest to also introduce some sort of reusable bag program, which is also something, an action that they have with Sustainable Jersey, to encourage people not only to recycle better, but just recycle less.
Your packets, I've been sending you stuff.
Yep, it is.
And I know you talked about wanting to maybe introduce that at Fanwood Day or something like that.
We have reusable bags. We just bought a couple.
We have them, but then it's the idea of educating
I
people.
think we got them.
We got them for Earth Day.
We got them from Earth Day. I don't know if
You
we
mean
have
the
extras.
Fanwood Larder ones?
No.
Or the other?
No, the ones we gave out on.
Oh, the Earth Day ones.
big ones.
Oh, those are so great.
They're
People
so
love
good.
them.
So-
Well, we gave that fan jam they had.
So the
We gave
idea,
them out.
so the idea would be,
But there were boxes and boxes.
which kind of ties into one of these articles here, right, is the reusable bags and recycling. And there are not a lot, but there's enough towns now that are actually prohibiting businesses from providing plastic bags.
And plastic straws.
Yeah, plastic straws, I think, has gotten a big push. The bags, and I just took one article from Woodland Park, which is up in Bergen County, and I put it here. And there's something for us to think about. There's ways that you can handle it so that, I know in some towns, the businesses have been introduced brown bags, gone back to brown bags, if you like, remember actual brown bags, whether they're plastic bags, or that that you can buy for, you know, $1, whatever it is, the reusable bags right there at the point of purchase. So that's something that I think, you know, as the council has to decide if this is something you really want to delve into and talk with our business community to see the impact and kind of work hand in hand with that. But there is a trend that's starting to emerge throughout New Jersey, and so we should be aware of it.
Well, that's pretty much the end of my presentation. Just in conclusion, the problem, our certification lapsed. We want to recertify in 2020. There's the plan that I've laid out with our 16 options, 12 steps, and just the necessity for new narratives and new documentation should really land us our bronze certification. And then just as we just talked about, energy upgrades and waste reduction. And then pretty much that's, yeah, right. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you won't be here to help us with this? You're going back to Scotland
I
soon?
am going back to Scotland, yeah, on the 29th. I'll be back for vacation for a month, you know, I can pop in,
All right.
see how you're doing.
Good.
So this, like I said, this was a really great project for us, you know, and when we first met, I was trying to figure out, you know, the best way to utilize her background and her passion, you know, and this has helped us. This really has helped us immensely to sort of put it into focus. It's not that difficult.
Right, yeah.
It really isn't. And I want to say that there's probably 200 towns, give or take, that are certified.
There are, I can actually show you because I have a picture. There's 450 that are participating and 203 that are currently certified, yeah. It says like this little
So
bit right here.
we're neither.
I think we're technically participating because we've signed up to the website. So I think the 450 is just people who have accounts.
So you could even see
Yeah.
like the difference, right? Out of 565 municipalities, 400 participate, which we kind of fall in, maybe that's just that. But there's such a drop off of how many are certified because it's not that easy. You know what I mean? It requires a commitment.
It's hard to keep it up to a certain degree because the actions do expire at a certain point, so you need to keep updating it. Like, and after 3 years, it, you know, the certification lapses.
So the goal is to find, and I think we can in our community, a handful of residents who are passionate about the environment in our community and being sustainable. And I think with help from the government, local government, we could do a great job. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Really,
welcome.
thank you. Good job. Good job. Okay, moving.
You make your way back in November.
Yeah.
You make your way back in November.
Just so you know,
Vote.
one of
Vote,
the
yeah, yeah.
options, one of the things here that you say is the natural resources inventory. That is totally updated, we're just waiting to come
Yeah.
back from the printer.
I actually got the, or at least Pat sent me whatever, I guess she sent me the
Right,
document a little
right,
while ago,
okay.
and I already plugged it into the system. We just need kind of the description of how it's implemented in the master plan. I don't know when that would happen. But,
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff, I think, with Antonius you can help, and Russ, and Eleanor, and Pat, we can do it.
But no, to a certain, most of the stuff was stuff that you could put in already, I've done.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Big help.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And enjoy
Sorry.
school.
Thank you. I'm just trying to turn this.
Yeah, that's okay.
Press the power button again.
There you go.
There's, moving on, there's 3 pieces of correspondence that I'd like to move as noted.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then standing committee reports, Councilman Krantz.
Remove the tax collector's report for July. In July, we collected $350,267.53 for a year-to-date total of $16,951,778.55.
Okay.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Pass this around. That's really all I have.
Okay. Councilman Carter?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Final update. Thank you. I'll start with the monthly report for our Fanwood Police Department for the month of July 2019. Total calls for police assistance through our CAD system, 1,017. Total calls for police assistance through the 911 terminal, 4. Motor vehicle stops for various violations, 469. Total number of summonses issued, 339. They were motor vehicle moving violation summonses, 82. Non-moving violations, 214. Parking summonses, 43. DWI, 0. The total adult arrest, 6. There were arrests on warrants, 5, and 1 for controlled dangerous substance. Total juvenile arrests, 0. Total crimes reported, 11. They were thefts and larceny, 6. Burglary, 1. Harassment, 1. Criminal mischief, 1. Simple assault, 2. In addition, the Fanwood Council met recently to interview a new officer, because we had an officer, Zorko, who's retiring from his many years in the Department of Great Service. Chief and I and the Public Safety Committee, we spoke about it, opened the application process. The application was posted on policeapp.com. There were several applications received. We were looking for an officer with previous experience to minimize the time in training and maximize the time that he would actually have in patrolling. We agreed on a particular officer who interviewed well, nice tremendous background, and we brought him in before council. That was Officer Flowers, who currently works, I believe, with the Tewksbury Police Department, but and just speaking with the chief, we're finishing up the last portion of his background checks now, and if everything goes well, which we don't presume there'll be any kind of blemishes, he'll begin patrolling on September 1st. That'll be our second officer, as Officer Green completed his training at the Police Academy earlier this year and is now patrolling. Some of you have maybe seen him out, and according to all reports, he's doing a tremendous job. So, you know, Officer Flowers is, we'll go 2 for 2 with this one. We'll go 2 for 2. And the resolution, I'll wait until
Yes.
you come back around.
Yes, please.
That concludes the report for July 2019.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilwoman Mitchell?
I don't really have much to report, except that I would like to announce that we do have a new senior coordinator, who will have, actually, she's already begun her job. Usually the senior coordinator, we haven't had one for a couple of years now, but mostly her job has been to help with things for the senior club. Part of Diane's new job will be not only to work in tandem with the senior club, but also to work with seniors in the community. And by that I mean, I don't know exactly what I mean yet. Offer programs, education, fun stuff. So she's got a lot on her plate. She's already done a few things. The seniors will be at their meeting on the 23rd. They will be giving out, Fanwood Pharmacy will be giving out flu shots. So if you are a senior in town and you don't have to belong to the club, just come over at 11 o'clock, have your Medicare card, and you can have your flu shot. And this is the first time we are using someone right here in town, so, you know, that's exciting too for us. So, but we will keep you posted, because all of this information will be going out to the public via all of our communication avenues, and some of them we haven't even thought of yet. So, keep watching. And I think that's it there.
Thank you. Councilman Banks?
I don't have anything to report on the land historic preservation, but I do have something to mention. I attended National Night Out here in town, and it was a really great time, and it was nice to see a lot of the family residents come out and support our local law enforcement.
It was nice.
It was really nice.
Thank you. Councilwoman McElroy Barker?
Yep. So, sorry. Oh, that's loud. Okay, so the rec commission met on 7/23. In reviewing the financials, there was, it was noted that the recreation trust is at its highest level that it's ever been due to increased revenues. The attendance and registration for the summer camps this year has been higher than any previous year, so they're very pleased with that. They reviewed the party in the park. They said attendance was down. I was away that week, but I'm pretty sure that was like the horribly hot, humid week with the rainstorms. So we're just kind of hoping that that was the reason. There was some concern that was also the Tuesday following fan jam, so they weren't too happy about that. The 5K race has been scheduled for Sunday, October 20th in the morning. The theme has been changed just slightly this year. It is now, it used to be like a superhero run, and it's now the Fanwood Fright Fest Little Monster Run. So there you go. Now you can be anything you want, as long as you're a monster, I guess. And so that's October 20th, so you'll start to see more and more come out about that. The Recreation Commission is involved in applying for a grant for leveling the playing field, specifically for Forest Road Park, and hopefully rolling that into the development there. And the commission was pleased to hear that the report on the soil was complete and that nothing else was needed at this time unless we are excavating that area, which we're not. So the next steps were to try to arrange a meeting between us and the firm that's handling the Forest Road Park redevelopment. And so they'd like to see that get off the ground as quickly as possible. So that's it.
Okay. Councilwoman Walsh?
I have the report from August 1st, the meeting of the Board of Health. At every meeting, they go through the financial reports and the vital statistics. This meeting was for May, June, and July, so that's a lot of information there. The one thing that we did speak a lot about was the Union County Opioid Task Force, and they have a meeting each month. In July, they spoke a lot about the Union County Helping Hands 365-day program, which is 24 hours, 7 days a week support for residents with substance abuse. They give treatment referrals, transportation to treatment, peer support, and all kinds of resource referrals. It's a great opioid task force, and they really do a lot of community things. They have medicine drop boxes. They did the naloxone deployment. They have a family toolkit, which is available for anyone free of charge for any family member with substance abuse. And then we did discuss an ordinance that was just passed in Morristown, and it was for electronic smoking devices. And Morristown and some other towns are actually thinking about it as well, to restrict any sale of electronic smoking devices to specifically licensed smoke shops. So in Fanwood, we have no licensed smoke shops. There's the one on 22. And we do have other places that sell electronic smoking devices. So that's something they're going to show us, that ordinance, in October.
So that doesn't affect like the normal 7-Elevens or?
It does. So, yes, so Quick Check, 7-Elevens.
Wherever they sell them.
Wherever they sell them, if they're not a licensed smoke shop, is how I understood it. Morristown and some other towns have passed this ordinance because, especially in Morristown, the parents were upset because, and I have heard this as well in other towns, that it was 10, 11, 12-year-olds that were going into a 7-Eleven and were buying these things. They of course can go online, but you have to have a credit card. That makes it a little bit harder. So, and, you know, here in Fanwood and Scotch Plains, I have heard that in the middle schools and the high schools, it is
Rampant.
awful,
Rampant.
right?
It's rampant.
Yes. So,
getting sick too.
yeah, it's
Today, there was an article in the paper about
Mysterious lung
mysterious
exactly, my niece just said this to me,
sicknesses
yes.
in New Jersey.
Yep.
With going to the hospital
Mhm.
and trying to figure out what this and it. They don't even know what this stuff is, you know.
And
what
they
it
put
affects.
cherry flavors in it and all kinds of things to
It's out of control.
Yes.
It's out of control, and I know that the Board of Health, you know, we've talked about this before,
They've
and
been
then
watching this for a long
and we
time.
waited for the state, but the state I don't think has stepped in.
All
so.
they've done is made it illegal to sell it
Under-
if you're under 21,
Right.
which is a big deal. I mean, and they have, I know that our Board of Health does do the sting program. where
Yes, they
send-
have.
They do send people out, and we've had one merchant who was actually dinged for that.
Right, and they did it again and everyone was fine.
Right,
So that
But
was
they're asking for
encouraging.
licensing,
Yeah.
right.
But
But-
so anyway, when, in October, I'll have the ordinance from Morristown.
I think we
and
should
then
treat
maybe
it
we
seriously.
could look at that.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
Okay.
and that concludes my report.
Okay.
Can I just say one other thing regarding the seniors? Okay, back to the seniors. One of the problems that we've had, not exactly a problem, but is to do these programs, we've had some financial difficulties because we haven't always had the money to support them. But through a grant with our grant writer, I am happy to say that the Fanwood Foundation is willing and able and willing to finance some of these programs that we are going to have. So I would, you know, like to give a big shout out to them and to thank them personally because they are willing to donate at least $7,500 toward
That's great.
specific projects. So I do thank the Fanwood Foundation.
That's awesome. But before we go into our the business, one thing I want to talk about is the elevated lead levels in the water. And there's been a lot of ongoing issues related to the elevated lead levels in Newark. And so I had a conversation today because I've actually been getting some calls, as mayors have across New Jersey, from concerned residents about their own water being safe to drink. And so I thought it was really appropriate to just spend a couple minutes talking about us here in Fanwood. So here in Fanwood, we do not have any lead services. And that American Water has been replacing our old galvanized services out, been taking that out and putting in new 1-inch plastic service lines. That all our mains have been cleaned. Our water actually comes from the Raritan River, and it's treated before it gets sent out into the system. And along the way, there are wells that also get tested and treat the water, as well as spot testing that happens in the fields. So here, American Water has replaced and cleaned probably 27,000 feet of pipe and has replaced 825 services in Fanwood over the last 5 years. So for us here, I think I am comfortable after talking to American Water, understanding sort of what our infrastructure is like here, and that routine tests and monitoring the drinking water leaving the treatment facilities show that our water meets or surpasses both the state and the federal standards for all regulated substances, including lead. And I think that, you know, you have some of our older urban centers with their infrastructure that are really struggling because lead service lines that are both on the city side and on the homeowner side. And, right, Antonius, I mean,
Yeah.
you,
Yeah, these problems are happening in several locations now, and
right,
it's a problem, but, you know, here in Fanwood, I think, you know, we're we're outside the problem area, so.
Right. And I just think that's important because it's kind of, it's everywhere and people are very, very concerned about that. So we'll have some information up on our website, I think, just kind of talking about this, so for anybody else who may want it. I think our tax revaluation is chugging along.
Yes, it is. They're getting toward the bottom of the pile.
They've yet to come to North Avenue.
November they should have information for us, you know, and for others.
Okay.
Okay, so I know they have to finish by the end of the year, but they're working on it.
And I think we're going to look to update our website probably in the next couple weeks, just on some more frequently asked questions now that people are wondering what the next phase is after a lot of them have come to their homes or if they've missed their homes, and sort of what that process is. I have our Fanwood Development and Business Update, and I think what really stands out is that the dentist in the former Bath Connection site, Dr. Kareem Osman, has opened, and to rave reviews, from what I understand. I've yet to be in there, but I'm hearing it's like the 22nd century of getting your teeth cleaned, and it's really nice. So that's a real welcome addition. I think the Fanwood Larder is plowing along, and hopefully September. Excuse me, which is not that far off because she wanted to open up by the end of the summer. And Fanwood Day is September 15th, which is our kind of our signature event, and so we really want to hope everyone puts that on the calendar. With that, I think we'll go into the presentation of claims, which I think Councilman Cranch, you have?
Yes, I do. I'll move claims in the amount of $5,054,239.20, having been listed on the bill list and recorded in the files of the Borough Hall and approved by the chairman of the appropriate committee.
Second.
May I have a voice? I mean, roll call?
Tom
Sorry.
Krantz,
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell,
Yes.
Jeffrey Banks,
Yes.
Anthony Carter,
Yes.
Erin McElroy Barker,
Yes.
Tricia Walsh.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Seeing that we have no auditing of claims, well, I'll have a motion to open up the meeting to the public.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Like to call for any members of the public that wish to make a comment? Seeing that there isn't anyone, may I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? There is no old business. On to the consent agenda, which there's 6 items on the, well, can't be all consent, right? Because the third one is a voice vote? No, are these all voice?
These are all voiced for the consent agenda.
Okay. Before we move that, is there any comments or questions?
Did we talk about, what is the 2019 Union County greening grant?
I was gonna ask you that, Kathy.
That's the plan.
I was actually thinking, what's that?
It's the planting the trees.
Oh, that's, okay.
That's
Oh,
all the
trees.
environmental people.
Okay.
So that's a
from, Shade Tree.
1-to-1, right? I think it's 1-to-1. For every tree we plant, the county will give us a
Right,
tree?
yes. So we have 3 big trees coming.
Oh.
Okay.
Where are they going?
I don't know.
And honestly, this would be the time, even if we needed to, we haven't submitted it yet, have we?
Friday.
Okay, because we can add to it. You know, these are people who have street trees, who want street trees, who, you know, need a new tree.
They have a list of people who want trees.
Good.
They
Do you know how many trees we're actually,
Well, we'll have 6 because we match it. All right, but they're only giving us 3, so we match it with 3.
yeah, that's not many. We should be getting more. I mean, like, that's not.
I know, but he
3?
does it very
Seriously?
slowly.
That's all they wanna give us?
No, that's all we're asking for. I mean, Westfield asked for like over 100. Yeah, no, they did. They're doing like
We're only
significant.
asking for 3?
Yeah, I know.
We're asking for
Well, they did a
$1,300.
big, they did a
it
big
says.
planting in the spring.
But this is for that,
They did a big planting in the spring, yes.
of trees.
We do have
yeah.
people that ask for trees in there right away.
Oh.
What do you do about the trees that are dead?
We should be taking them out.
Like, there was a tree planted with the request a tree thing, and it didn't make it this year.
No, we'll take it out.
Oh, it's in the right, you know, it's one of those
This is
ask
the
for the
shade
tree,
tree
get the tree kind of deal.
So I guess you need to let Eleanor know so that we can see why it's not taken out.
It's the shade tree?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's only 3. All right. I
We're
might
only
want
asking for $1,300, $1,322, or how did we get up with that
I don't
number?
know, I think there was a price
Why
for
didn't
each
they just ask
tree.
for $2,000, for example?
He
or-
picked that amount, those trees for that amount. That's
You know, it's a weird number.
All right, I may just want to take a look at that, Eleanor, just seriously before we do it on Friday.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments on? Okay, so can I have a motion to move the consent agenda as noted?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilman Krantz?
Okay, so I move Resolution 1908-150. This is for a $2,000 grant for
Excuse
a
me.
fire prevention program in schools.
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Tom Krantz?
Yes.
Erin McElroy Walker?
Yes.
Jeffrey Banks?
Yes.
Anthony Carter?
Yes.
Catherine Mitchell?
Yes.
Patricia Walsh?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Councilman Carter, you're up.
Okay. All right, so I move resolution 19-08-151, but it has to be amended.
And what is the amendment?
Okay, so it's listed that there will be purchase of 2 SUVs and 1 patrol car. That should actually be 3 SUVs. I confirmed with Chief that it was 3 SUVs. The dollar amount is still the same,
Okay.
so the dollar amount doesn't change, but it should just be amended to say 3 SUVs.
You just amended on the fly like that, Russ?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you need a
Yeah,
motion
the
to
dollar
amend.
amount's the same.
Dollar amount's the same, it's just a description. Okay, so we have a motion on the amendment.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then we can move the resolution as amended. Please.
I move, yes, you have to do that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, just
So
move
I'll
that.
move resolution 19-08-151 as amended.
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next.
All right, next we'll have a first reading. I introduce ordinance number 19-14-R and request the title be read by the clerk.
You're right with you. Okay, thank you. An ordinance of the Borough of Fanwood, County of Union, and State of New Jersey, establishing a replacement fee for off-street parking permits.
I move that ordinance number 19-14-R be adopted on first reading, and if adopted, that the clerk advertise the ordinance as required by law, and that the second reading of said ordinance be held at a public hearing at Borough Hall, 75 North Martine Avenue, Fanwood, New Jersey, on September 3rd, 2019, at 7 o'clock p.m., or as soon thereafter as the matter can be heard.
My second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. I lost my page. Okay, moving on. Councilwoman Mitchell, you have 4 resolutions, please.
I move resolution 19-08-152, and this is a change order for the carpeting and flooring installation. And apparently, we went over cost, is that the idea?
We did there, and there were other work that we did as well, and the calculations were a little off, so that made it more expensive.
Yeah, I think with the flooring, they ran into more problems than they thought they were gonna
Yes,
have.
they did.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so can I have a second on that?
So moved.
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Catherine Mitchell?
Yes.
Tom Krantz?
Yes.
Jeffrey Banks?
Yes.
Anthony Carter?
Yes.
Erin McElroy Walker?
Yes.
Patricia Walsh?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I move resolution 19-08-153, and this is to award a contract for our bulk waste that we will be having coming up soon in September.
The trucking for it.
May I have a motion, may I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call, please, on the award of this contract?
Catherine Mitchell,
Yes.
Tom Krantz.
Yes.
Jeffrey Banks.
Yes.
Anthony Carter.
Yes.
Erin McElroy Barker.
Yes.
Patricia Walsh.
Yes.
Motion carried.
When's the deadline for that? The deadline to get the permit?
Oh, you
It's
can
not a
get it
permit.
almost-
This
I
is-
think it's just
oh,
open.
This is
The
the
day.
trucking.
No,
Oh,
it's
to get the permits.
Permit, yeah.
Labor Day, isn't it
Now, they're
usually
doing
Labor
it
Day?
now, yeah, Labor Day, but they'll take it right.
Okay. Oh, the day after Labor Day?
Yeah, I'm usually late.
So am I.
I'm
Me
always-
too, late too.
I'm always late. Well, the day after Labor Day is kind of really a hard day to kind of put that. I mean, who's really paying attention?
Yeah.
Don't
We should-
worry
we
about
should
it.
extend that.
Send it in later.
Yeah. Okay, next.
I move resolution 19-08-154, and this is a change order for Patterson Road, and I have to
So
defer
there-
to you.
There were a couple emergency items that had to be taken care of. There was a couple inlets at the train station that we had the contractor fix under the contract. And also there was a culvert on Patterson Road that was in pretty bad shape that needed to be repaired. So that increased the contract minimally.
Okay. We have a motion, may I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Catherine Mitchell,
Yes.
Tom Krantz.
Yes.
Jeffrey Banks.
Yes.
Anthony Carter.
Yes.
Erin McElroy Barker.
Yes.
Patricia Walsh.
Yes.
I move resolution 19-08-155, and here again, this is a change order for miscellaneous roadway resurfacing.
Okay, so the first change order increased the contract by $2,967.50. This one actually reduces the contract by $10,345.88.
I move that.
Very good.
So moved.
You can buy some more trees.
There you go.
Okay, I have a second, please.
Second.
And may I have a roll call?
Take it away.
Catherine Mitchell,
Yes.
Tom Krantz.
Yes.
Jeffrey Banks.
Yes.
Anthony Carter.
Yes.
Erin McElroy Barker.
Yes.
Patricia Walsh.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. I'd like to have a motion to open the meeting to the public, please.
So moved.
All in favor?
All right.
I'd like to call forward any members of the public that wish to make a comment.
Michael Lewis, 41 Beach Avenue in Fanwood. Mayor and Council, I'd like to request that consideration be put, of a resolution be put on the September agenda to move the Board of Education elections from November to April, and concurrent with that, restore a direct vote on the school budget to the voters of Scotch Plains and Fanwood. Currently, so long as the budget stays within certain parameters, there's no vote on the budget. Check on budgetary expansion and taxation was supposed to be made by a larger pool of candidates running for school board elections, combined with greater participation, voter participation in the process. The justification that was given by the board for opting for this were cost savings and administrative time spent in justifying the budget. And having run for the school board myself, this is where these arguments break down. And I want to emphasize that none of this in and of itself is wrong or nefarious, but it is reflective of broader structural flaws in the process, and even what I am proposing now constitutes only a partial remedy to the problem. The school board does not answer to either of the town councils. Board members are elected locally, but ultimately are accountable to the state of New Jersey as state officials, subject to state mandates. Equally relevant, budgetary caps are subject to the same exemptions as budgets of most public entities. Pensions and health insurance are big loopholes. Meanwhile, state aid is inadequate, and funding formulas and how they are allocated vary according to the political winds. Secondly, the board is exactly that, a board of directors. It sets policy and priorities. It oversees administration and hiring and ratifies the budget. It is far more than a rubber stamp, but by design, because it is supposed to be nonpartisan, day-to-day administration is supposed to be left in the hands of the superintendent and business administrator. That said, the effectiveness of oversight depends heavily on having people on board who will ask probing questions. Sometimes you have them, sometimes you do not. If you do not have board members who can or will ask probing questions, administrators can do wonderful things with reserves and cap banks to achieve broader goals. Several years ago, reserves were used to provide space for full-day kindergarten. At that time, the claim was made that this was done while cutting $3 million from the operating budget. This claim was actually true. It was possible because with cap banks, adjustments could be made retroactively to the current budget without cutting actual out-of-pocket spending at all and leaving operating spending at a higher overall level going forward. Again, none of this is wrong. None of this is evil. As a former bookkeeper, I used to do some of this myself. But what it does is allow one to build continuing operating costs into a budget that are not easily removed later on. No one wants to lay off a teacher. And this leads to my last point. I would argue that if board and administrative interests are truly aligned with the community, a budget will not be voted down because a belief continues to persist in the linkage with housing values. But there will be continuing development in Scotch Plains, state mandates change, and continuing pressure on both operating expenses and capital expenses as even the district's newer school infrastructure ages. The current feedback loop establishing priorities, needs, and wants is totally inadequate to the task because local accountability is actually pretty minimal. Currently, it is a school board election process that can only become more contentious as those cost pressures increase. I would argue that the process requires an administration to justify its spending on a continuing basis. It allows for the remote possibility that it just might be second-guessed by voters once in a while. And this would be far preferable in the longer run for the sake of the nonpartisan nature of the process as a whole. Please put this on your September agenda. I have provided at least some of you with at least a resolution as to how this might be worded, together with a discussion that took place on the subject in Ridgewood. I'll happily answer any questions you might have and appreciate any consideration you could offer. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. First of all, I think if you could give Eleanor, if you have, your written comments, if you're able to email her that, that would be great. Russ, I think you did speak, did you ever speak up to?
No, I never connected with them, but I thought Scotch Plains was supposed to have a discussion about this at their meeting. Did they ever do that?
They had a meeting. The discussion was truncated. It wasn't one of my better presentations there. They needed an elevator pitch. I didn't have one. But it's supposed to come up on the October agenda, but I don't know.
Right. Because just to refresh the council's recollection, it's a joint school district, so it has to, in order for you to move it to April, Scotch Plains and Fanwood both have to pass resolutions, indicating their desire to move it back to April.
Right, and I think before that happens, I think what Mr. Lewis is asking for is kind of a discussion, sort of a robust discussion on the reasons, which is why I think your comments tonight I thought were well done. So I'd like to have a chance to read. Yeah, I think we all would like a chance to reread them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing that there isn't anybody else, can I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that concludes our regular scheduled business. Councilman Carter, do you have any comments you'd like to close with?
Thank you.
Good for you.
Oh. There you go. Yeah, there you go. I like it. I like it.
Yes.
Councilman?
Everybody enjoyed the rest of their summer.
Yes.
Kathy?
I have to speak up again.
Yes, you do.
About what has happened in this country in the past couple of weeks. We hear the words condolences, thoughts and prayers. They've become hollow words. Things like this are happening so often anymore. The people of El Paso and Ohio and California once again were hit with the vengeance, the vehemence of assault weapons. But now we don't have the usual boogeymen to blame. We can't blame the Taliban, and we can't blame the black people, and we can't blame the immigrants, whether they're legal or illegal. We can't blame the Muslims. Most Muslims are here, United States citizens, practicing their religion. So who do we blame? we blame mental health and we blame video games. So what do we do with the mental health issue? We cut the funding for it. Makes perfect sense. I'm so annoyed, I don't even know where else to go. Only in America can you obtain a gun if you're on a no-fly list. Tell me what kind of sense that makes. And can somebody please tell me why anyone other than a military person would need an assault rifle? What is the purpose of an assault weapon? It's to kill. We know that because they've told us in Ohio that they killed, what, 26 people in 32 seconds? At least if there was no assault weapon and you still had this person with quote-unquote mental problems, if he had a regular handgun, he would only be able to, God forbid, kill 1 or 2 people as opposed to 26. And one thing I hear out in the public when, you know, the subject comes up is somebody will always say, don't worry, that can't happen here. Well, I think the people in El Paso and Parkland and the black churches and Sandy Hook, I think they all thought that too. And we know how the outcome of that. So I want to know when we as a nation are going to stand up and demonstrate all the time. We demonstrated after Parkland for quite a while. Nothing really happened. Apparently there were some demonstrations this past weekend. I didn't hear too much about them, so I don't know how successful they were. I want to know when our inept, cowardly, impotent, useless legislators are going to do something about this issue. There seems to be some sentiment now about universal background checks. Okay, except we've all heard that before, and I guess I'm kind of cynical at this point. I'll believe it when I see it. They are, and I call them negligent only because they are supposed to be keeping us safe. And we know that they're not doing that. The only thing they're concerned about is being reelected. So I think it is time that we as a nation demonstrate all the time, if we have to, until they begin to listen to us. By the time Congress gets back in session, a month will have passed. And some of all these ideas and sentiments will be a month old, and you know what happens when things are a month old. You kind of tend to put them on the back burner. So the only thing I can say is only in America can you get a hand, are you allowed to get a gun if you're on, as I said before, on the no-fly list. Only in America can you get assault weapons. We know that there was an incident in New Zealand earlier in the year to which I spoke about. A day or two after, their government convened, and a week later, assault weapons were banned in New Zealand. I would just like to see 1 or 2 first steps and go from there. And I'm sorry to the legislators if I have offended you, but that was my total purpose.
Good job, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
Good job, Kathy.
I appreciate those words. That's a tough act to follow, so I'm not even going to try. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your summer.
Thank you, Councilwoman Mitchell. I just would like to say that I agree wholeheartedly, and the only thing that I can think of is vote. Vote. Everyone vote. Also, I would just like to say that I met our new dentist, and he's great, and it's beautiful, and everyone should go there. And we didn't speak about the Fanwood Larder, which I think is opening very soon.
Yeah, we think maybe by September,
Between 10 and 15 of September.
Yeah, the middle of
Right.
September, she pushed that back, yeah.
And enjoy the last couple of weeks of summer.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
Yeah, I can't follow that. So, as you all might imagine, I almost always agree with everything Kathy says. So, kudos to you, and I agree wholeheartedly. And God willing, one day we will reclaim our sanity in this country.
Okay, so thank you, Councilwoman Mitchell, I think, for articulating very well what a lot of us actually think and with the frustration. And so we will leave you here tonight on that note of change, wanting change. And we hope that you enjoy the last couple weeks of summer as everyone scurries to go back to school, and for all of the young adults who went off as their freshman year in college. You know, we saw so many of our local kids go and start the next chapter of their lives, and we wish them nothing but health and happiness. Not too much happiness at school. And to their parents, you know, good job on moving them to the next chapter. And with that, we will see you in the beginning of September. Have a wonderful Labor Day. And with that, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.